Hey everybody, welcome to the Teapot Tanuki YouTube channel. I'm your host, as per the norm. I wanted to do something a little different today and just talk about the trailer. I don't want to call it a trailer, more of a teaser for the new Pokemon game that's been announced. So, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the trailer to start with, and then once we've had a look through it properly, we're going to discuss it. Okay, so let's start. You may also hear a slight clicking sound, nothing to be alarmed of. There we go. And there you go. So let's start with the obvious elephant in the room, or the Zygarde in the room. So Pokemon Legends Z-A or ZA, I will call it that for the sake of argument. Clearly, Zygarde is going to be the focus of this. Those hexagons represent its scales, and the color scheme matches because it's green and black. Excuse me. I didn't really think about this until recently, but did you notice the parallel between the fact that Zygarde is the third legendary of the Aura trio, but it also Terrapagos was also a Pokemon with a six, a hexagonal plate shell of sorts, even though these are technically scales for Zygarde because it's a dragon. Anyway, the point I'm making is clearly this means there's going to be at least two Pokemon that are the focus, because the last Legends game was Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Arceus was kind of the focus of the plot. That was the goal of the bad guys. It was the goal of the player, and eventually the game ends effectively when you capture Arceus. Like the main storyline is over. Now, this game is clearly going to be featuring Zygarde as the main character, or at least as the crux of the story. And that's interesting, but what is air? Because that's the bit I can't work out. I had a look prior to recording this, and it turns out there are a few legendaries and other Pokemon that have air as like the first letter of their name or a major syllable in that name. None of them really fit the aesthetic though. Like, obviously, Z-A could mean this is actually referring to a form of Zygarde, like it gets a new, I don't know, it may be like Zygarde Amazing form, or Zygarde Alpha form, or Zygarde, I don't know, something else form. But the pattern on the air with the little wisps like that, it does invoke images of a dragon of sorts. Like those do look like scales. It also kind of reminds me of a plant though, so it makes me think maybe a grass type Pokemon is going to be one of the featured mons. It's also possible this is alluding to a brand new Pokemon we've never seen before. Pokemon Legends Arceus did introduce several new Pokemon, including a brand new legendary, who is more or less a standalone Pokemon. This game could very, very easily introduce a completely brand new Pokemon. But the fact that it's ZA does imply it is related to Zygarde, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a new form. Zygarde already has 1, 2, let me think, complete, and then 15, 10% forms. So it already has 3 forms you can obtain in game. And if you count the cells and cores, it technically has 5. So it already has a lot to keep track of. But I mean, it wouldn't be the first time when Pokemon's got a new form in a new game. Zygarde itself got a new form in Sun and Moon. That's where it got the 10% and the complete forms. And it is the guardian of the ecosystem. Now that does actually tie into some of the stuff we've seen already. Let's just go back a little bit. So, let me just find the right slot. Give me a second. Yeah, because this draws out as if it's plans for building a city and buildings and stuff, and how it will look when it's finished. It shifts to this. Where is that point? I know what I'm looking for, and I'll find it when I find it. I'll get there. There we are. The fact that it's called the Urban Redevelopment Plan for Lumiose City. Now, I'm going to quickly Google this, because redevelopment seems a bit of an odd... Let's see. Urban redevelopment. So, reading from the first thing Google brings up, and that is the only thing I will take as a straight answer. What is urban redevelopment? Urban redevelopment means demolition and reconstruction or substantial renovation of existing buildings or infrastructure within urban infill areas or existing urban service areas. So, in other words, they're rebuilding Lumiose City. It's possible that we are rebuilding it from its... I can't see them taking the current version seen in X and Y and developing it further. But given the somewhat, old parchment style of this document we're looking at, it seems that this is like the original story of how Lumiose City came about, which I think is a really interesting idea. There's plenty of space in Kalos. Kalos has the fewest number of legendary Pokemon native to it, so in the story of the game, you can get Yveltal and Xerneas and Zygarde later on. And whilst you can catch the legendary birds, you can't catch all 3 of them, and none of them, there's no other legendaries to be found in the wild in that game. So it's like the complete opposite of Sinnoh in that sense. But that means there's plenty of room for other Pokemon to come in and do stuff. They could very easily introduce a brand new Pokemon to oppose Zygarde or even work alongside it, maybe. So, the urban redevelopment plan, so someone is rebuilding Lumiose City, and if you go back to the start of the trailer, we flick back a little bit, they're talking about... Go back. I keep missing because I can't see the subtitles with those things in the way. A vision of beautiful coexistence between people and Pokemon. By the way, that does not say that. That's too short. It looks more like it's asking a question, because that thing on the end looks like a question mark. But this is apparently the Pokemon world language. I don't know if anyone's taken the time to actually translate it properly. But yeah, a vision of beautiful coexistence between people and Pokemon. And then it comes in. These are very, very, old-timey sketches of what Lumiose City could look like. So this makes me think that we are going to be involved in the construction of the city in some manner. It'll be interesting seeing what the protagonists of this game look like, whether or not they'll go for a sort of, I don't know if this is the correct phrasing, but like Victorian era or steampunk version of Serena and Callum. Is it Callum that's the protagonist for X and Y? But what I find interesting is this bit right here where it transitions. It starts off in this old-timey sketch style, and then it switches to this much more futuristic, almost a Tron-like thing. I don't know if this is just an artistic choice, but then we've got holograms of like people and Pokemon, including a lot of returning Pokemon. You've got Clefairy, you've got Flabébé, you've got Gyarados, Staryu right down the bottom there. There was a Furfrou, which currently is not available in any of the Switch games. We've got Sylveon. And then we switch over to this grand view of Lumiose City. But the fact that, so the official website does say we are this journey will take place within Lumiose City, like that's where the adventure is. It makes me wonder if it's going to be like part like Sim City, where you're building up the city, but also a little bit like Monster Hunter, where you've got waves of Pokemon coming in. That'd be an interesting concept, and then that's how you catch new members of your team. But the holographic view, because if you want they do this, and it's still holographic, then we zoom out, doesn't that kind of look like a magic circle to you? Like the one seen in Fantasy? It also makes me think of, what's it called? Tears of the Kingdom, you know, the logo for that. Mainly the style, the sort of same sketchy style. So I'm wondering if that's... Obviously, the two games are not related. There's no way. But you're not looking at this and telling me that they didn't... You know, they obviously took some cues from that logo. Because the city isn't this... Like, I'm sure the buildings exist in X and Y story, but we don't get to see it. We mainly stick to the main roads, those sort of main roads you can see moving along there. I'm pretty sure there's also an outer ring. Oh, there was in X and Y. Maybe that's not in this version? I don't see it, unless it is just the outer ring. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you can see the gates. Because the idea of Lumiose City is, in X and Y, you do go through Lumiose City once, after getting, I think it's the first badge, and then you go out east, sort of loop around, get your second, third, fourth badges and so on, and then you come back into Lumiose City and then exit to the north, and then go around the region the other way, to the west, and then you come back, and then the end of the game where AZ gets his Floetti back takes place right at Lumiose Tower, so the entire region may as well not exist. Is probably what they were thinking. They were like, Lumiose City is like when you think Kalos, you think Lumiose City. Like, everyone thinks that. So having that be the central focus of this game makes way too much sense. And the detail, if we are actually able to explore every single, like, little road, little outlet in this city, then that's going to be, like, practically a mini region all in itself. We might even see Pokemon that don't normally exist in the wild here. And then it switches back to this sketchy style, and it's so unusual. Because, like, Pokemon Legends Arceus made no bones about it. You are... Excuse me. Pokemon Legends Arceus make no jokes about it. You were in the distant past. You were in Ancient Cedar. But they've never actually come out and said that this game takes place in Kalos' past. They've just said this is a redevelopment plan. You're going to be redeveloping, Lumiose City. Lumiose City could start off as a little village, and then you have to expand it outwards. With the tower being the final constructed project. Like, you start from that ring in the middle, or maybe you start from the walls, and you just fill in bits of the map with different buildings as your population increases. That would be a good, interesting way to go about it. It's also interesting as well, on this map, aside from that northern gate, there aren't actually any other gates noted on the sketch version of the map, implying this might actually be a very early version of the design documents, excuse me, that the planners used when building Lumios. That could be, that's interesting. But the reason I find it really interesting that they go back and forth between, because they kind of do, they start off with a sketchy style, and then, can I just fast forward without, nope, I cannot. So they start off with a sketchy style, I've said this already, they start with a sketchy style, then they switch that holographic style around this point. This makes me think time travel is going to be much more of a focus in this game. Like, you start off in an early version of Lumios City, you do some stuff, maybe you meet Celebi or another time traveling Pokemon, and then you move forward into the present, and you see what effects that your building projects are having. It seems a little ambitious for a Pokemon game, I'm not gonna lie. If this is a proper SimCity thing with time travel involved, then it will be really interesting to see where they go with it. But that's my theory. I think there's going to be a time travel machine involved, or at least like a Pokemon involved. Maybe that's what Pokemon A is. It's a time traveler in the same vein as Celebi. Because we don't actually know why Celebi can time travel. Like, it doesn't represent anything. It's just a Pokemon that just so happens to be able to time travel. And here's the other thing as well. With the grass thing, Celebi is a grass psychic type that can time travel for some reason. So it's possible that Pokemon A, assuming this is an individual Pokemon, is a time traveling grass type or something. Like, that would be the only reason the green would make sense, outside of it being a Zygarde form. Also, one other thing I kind of skipped over, I meant to say this earlier. The other significance between the ZA in the logo is that AZ, the character, is actually a really major player in the plot of X and Y, or at least the backstory. His Floette is a special type of Floette, and it has a flower called the Flower of Ruin. AZ was like the king of Kalos. His Pokemon got sent off to fight in a war for some reason. Like, there was a war going on between Kalos and another unnamed region. And eventually the Pokemon loses its life, and he gets effectively a coffin back from the army that was waging war. Filled with rage, he builds the ultimate weapon. Well, he builds the machine that brings his Pokemon back to life by sucking out the souls of other Pokemon. That's creepy in of itself. But then he turns the machine into the ultimate weapon, and then ends the war by blasting everyone to smithereens. And the ultimate weapon is effectively the goal of Team Flare. Like, Team Flare's boss wants the weapon, and he wants to fire it again, to rid the world of what he considers to be ugliness. It's a bit of a weird story, I'm not gonna lie. It's a little strange. But AZ himself is kind of an interesting character. He also is sort of referred to in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Apparently, he did visit the Hoenn region, but if this game takes place in the past, presumably AZ either hasn't left on his journey yet, or maybe this takes place just after the war with the unnamed region, and we're actually helping rebuild Lumiose City from what it was. I'm curious as to how that's going to work, though, because I don't know much about building a town, even from a video game perspective, but I can't imagine it's easy. Like, you've got to get materials, you've got to get plans, you've got to get people working on it. So I suppose I can see the appeal. It feels like it's going to be asset management, at least on some level. And with them, because, as I said, with them focusing so heavily on Lumios, and they have said Lumiose is where you'll be adventuring. Focusing so heavily on Lumiose, it does kind of look like a perfect location for a tower defense sort of game. So maybe you're building up Lumiose City, and then every now and again, Raging Titan Pokemon or something attack, and your goal effectively is to defeat them and capture one or two of the Pokemon along the way. Like that would be really interesting. Also, does that plan change? I just want to see. No, it's more or less a copy. But I still think time travel is going to be involved, and I think we're going to be going back and forth between the two time periods. Which, again, begs the question of what a protagonist for this will look like. This has the potential to be really good. It also has the potential to be really bad. The last time Game Freak did a one-town game was was it Little Town Hero or something like that? And there's a very good reason why you've never heard of that game. It's not good. But I've got faith. I think they're gonna hit this one out the park. Like, it's a Pokemon Legends game. Like the last one was really good. Like not amazing. But Pokemon Legends Arceus. I still stand by that. That is the best Pokemon game on the Switch, and this has the potential to absolutely knock it out of the park. Absolutely, 100%. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens. It's just a shame we're gonna have to wait till 2025. I'm happy that they're taking the time to properly develop it because this is the kind of game that seems like you need to focus. Like you can't just screw around. You can't make the environments bland. Because if you're going to be inside this one city, this one ring, for an entire playthrough, however long that ends up being, the town needs to look interesting. It needs to develop in interesting ways. Otherwise, it's going to be super bland and boring. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. I'm sure. I can't picture it. I keep saying I can't picture it being bad. I can 100% picture this being really bad. That's the problem. But with them coming out in 2025, again, I still have hope. I still have faith. I think they're going to knock this one out of the park. Last thing I want to mention. Mega Evolutions are coming back, which I know some people are going to love that. Some people are going to absolutely hate it. Like, they've been begging for Mega Evolutions to come back for years. Excuse me. Mega Evolutions debuted in Kalos, so it makes 100% sense that they would revisit the idea of Mega Evolution in this game. Excuse me. That implies that I think Mega Evolved Pokemon may play the same role as the Alpha Pokemon from Legends Arceus, in that they're the big boss Pokemon, effectively, for like a wave or a group of Pokemon. But I digress. That's going to be really interesting to see what happens. One thing I really hope is that this game does introduce some brand new species of Pokemon. Pokemon Legends Arceus, like I said before, did do that, and it did it really well. So hopefully they're going to do the same thing again. I also hope this means we're getting some actual brand new Mega Evolutions and not just, the same ones we've already had. The ones we had were great. Like, I love Mega Mawile. I think Mega Gardevoir's great. Mega Blaziken's a really badass Pokemon. But I really want to see them just go out of their way and just be like, yeah, we're making, at least a few brand new Mega Evolutions. It would be really funny if Zygarde gets one as well, just because it is the odd Pokemon, and if that thing got a Mega Evolution, it would be the most unbalanced thing ever. I think that's everything I wanted to say. There's no hint to what the starters will be. If it's anything like Pokemon Legends Arceus, then it probably will be that we'll get 3 Pokemon from a completely unrelated region. But at the same time, the starters from X and Y didn't have Mega Evolutions, so they could just as easily bring back Greninja, Delafox, and Chestnut and just give them Megas. That would be the easy way to go about doing it, I suppose, but the fun way would be if we got, say, Piplup, Chikorita, and Chimchar, maybe, I guess? I don't know. Not Chimchar. Chimchar already got. Actually, Chimchar didn't get anything, did it? Yeah, why not? Chimchar, Piplup, and Chikorita. Why not? Um, and yeah, it'd be really fun to see them get Mega Evolutions. Um, it also meant, if assuming we are getting all the Megas back, that means that Mewtwo's presumably going to be in the game somewhere. Latios and Latias are going to be back. I wonder if that means Mega Rayquaza will make an appearance, because it is a Mega and it is supposed to be like one of the original Mega Evolutions. Um, so that'll be fun. Imagine that if we got to fight Deoxys again because a meteorite was threatening Lumiose City in the past, and then we went to the future, got a spacesuit, came back, and then rode it into space on Rayquaza just to take down Deoxys. That'd be so cool. That was my favorite bit in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I'd love to see that come back. Anyway, I'm waffling, so let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. So until then, bye bye.